Hello, my name is Justin Fraley, student 3139598. I'll be doing my assignment this week via video in lieu of my Microsoft document, which was obliterated on a laptop upstairs through a current VAC spike off this vessel. I'm currently on an oil rig in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and I was still highly ecstatic to actually have this opportunity to turn in this assignment for this week. I would like to speak about leadership. Served 17 years as a United States Marine. I was a gunnery sergeant, and I was in charge of several Marines, 42 at the most at one time. One of the credos that we were given, and also a mantra, if you will, doctrine, is troop welfare and mission accomplishment. Troop welfare being, of course, first. Now, this idea that comes across with the ideas of leadership first over mission accomplishment. Now, several times that we were given the ideas that we could actually do mission accomplished first through troop welfare, and I have seen several quasi-experiments with the ideas that you go into the ideas of transformational and transactional leadership to actually become a servant leader, which it really didn't work all that well. Servant leader was definitely the way to start out with, which is definitely ideas of troop welfare first. Troop welfare is what we consider to be an attack, more or less, on the ideas of morale. The morale is to actually keep the spirits of the subordinates at a high, at the most that can be afforded, to want them to be at work, to want them to actually try, not just for the leader itself, but actually for the mission, goal, purpose statement as a whole, and to work together. Morale is really hard to be defined because it's so different and so ubiquitous when it comes down to what it can actually be. To each person it's something different, so that also taps in deeper into the nerve of what actually leadership is. If one person enjoys one thing and they're having a bad day, especially in the middle of a very tough situation, which means military deployment or in the civilian sector, just an unanswerable situation that no one has the answers for. I feel that a good leader, and by definition and by experience as well, that a good leader can actually pump those spirits up through knowing the worker, Marine, whatever it may be, and actually recalling and making them smile again, making them pick up their tools of their trade and push forward. And I've experienced that several times myself, and I think that it's a very valuable tool when it comes down to it. I haven't read too much about the ideas of morale when it comes down to it, but it is definitely a very useful tool. Now, mission accomplishment, if it is actually put first, mission accomplishment could be a good thing and can lead to troop welfare, which is through the ideas of success. And I think that that ties in very deeply to the ideas of a transactional leader, which is more than likely what they can get from the person and then turn it around as a added benefit or reward, not for the person they are, not for the job they do, but what is their correlation and I guess you could say conglomeration of their efforts as a team together. Me personally, I like to go into the ideas of servant leaders. Servant leaders are something that I learned up as of late, and it's really strange how it comes into leadership, and you learn about it, and you kind of try to put yourself exactly what kind of leader you think you are. And I think that through my leadership, I was a servant leader. I cared more about the people that were actually underneath me first, and then from there try to what I like to call make a replacement. And that's basically tapping into their abilities, knowing what they can and cannot do, using those as a tool, not in a devious manner, of course, but in a way to make them perform better and perform better as a team, and to know their strengths and put them, I guess you could say, as a cog into the right part of the gear train, as a motor that turns the whole vessel that is the team, or vehicle, excuse me, as you will. But also to make sure that they're content with what they're doing, and also make sure that you take out to their training, knowing that are making sure that they're not slacking when they shouldn't be, and making sure that they're pushing themselves at all given times. And the idea of making a replacement is something to replace yourself, not just as billet, but as in your own comfort level, the same that you could leave knowing that this person that you have trained and forged from the very bottom up to be your personal replacement. I think that that is definitely a good action of leadership, and I think it is the epitome of the servant leader. Now, I think also in in accordance with Chaudhry and Akhtar, that servant leader is basically a person that remembers where they came from, that they could look down and see exactly what the hard times and the strifes and sacrifices that the subordinates are actually going through, and can remember and use that experience and memory to tap into the welfare of the actual employee. And once they do this, it makes him seem human again, even though that he is of superior billet, not great, of course. But that is a very valuable asset when it comes down to having employees work at their potential. And when employees are working at their potential, and if their potential is outstanding, of course, it's going to push the company as a whole together, or the institution, organization, whatever you have. And if their best is not good enough, and then obviously as a leader, that another decision needs to be made that they need to be replaced. Also, but it never should come to that level. I think that evaluations, analysis of the employees' performance should always be graded. I think that well, not that I think, it should be by most standards that a employee should be graded and told where they're messing up and where they're doing really well. And this as a leader is their number one job, is to make sure that they are informed of where they are, coming short and where they're performing. So it's basically a, hey, get up there, or hey, keep it up, one of the two. Also, their personal, professional growth should be molded and crafted. And as a leader, that's something that a leader has experienced and should be able to tap into their abilities and see where they can actually do better. So also with the evaluation process, there should be a set of goals of how the employee should be graded. So that way they are told what level they'll be expected to perform at and what they'll be graded upon. With that information being relayed to the employee, I do think that that will actually help them go farther. Let them know exactly how they're being graded, and it almost gives them a compass, if you will, or a roadmap to see where they're going, where they need to go. With that type of direction is something that a leader should provide for a subordinate to make sure that they are on the right path to success. And that, I think, is by far one of the most important things that a leader can actually harbor and harness to push himself and the organization as closer and closer to their mission statement and goal. Just to recap on that right now, I am currently, as I said, on NOLA right now, and I had my paper destroyed, as I said earlier too. But the leader that I have right now, I told him, and I was a little down about it, and told him, hey, look, I need to get off a little early tonight so I can get my paper knocked out. And then I came back here, just my lunch break. I had 30 minutes. I typed out a little bit more of it, and that's when it fell. I got back on the internet to see the class site, to see what I could do, and I could see I could do this. And I told that to him, and he came off his free time, took my shift, and told me to get down here. And I think that is by far another firm tool of leadership, is sacrifice. Sacrifice is a very big thing, and also in the public eye, it could go a long way. And for him to do that, even though that, this, in hypothetical speaking, is that on the completion of this degree, I could take or be more qualified for his job than he can, and he had no problem with that, and he understands that. So I think that's another firm, great example of a leader and leadership within its finest. I think the sacrifice is probably one of the biggest things you could actually have when it comes down to a leader. And if it may be, a servant leader who is, there for the welfare, a transactional leader who's it has the direction of what needs to be done, and also the transformational leader that believes in the organization as a whole. I think that each person needs to find out exactly which kind of person leader they are, tap into that, and see where it could actually be made good for everyone. And I think once again, humility is another great tool of leadership, and actually being able to understand that, knowing that they're not perfect, and knowing that they need to be resourceful and good on their industry, which means that if they do not know and a subordinate does, that a good leader will ask a subordinate, even public eye, to say he doesn't know and ask a junior. Is that when the information is available, resourcefulness is another great tool of leadership, and I think it should be exploited at all costs to make sure that leaders have all their tools, very resourceful and industrious, and that's another fine tool of leadership. I do think that leadership will always evolve as the times and problems get technically advanced and leadership is removed. That leadership will actually be more needed. Kind of like the argument with the library and the internet, that you're going to need both. So great leadership, I think, will push through the times where the darkest hours of need is, and leaders will evolve, and leaders will come out of pretty much a woodwork through experience and good nature and morals, and provide for the good morale of the employee. And in closing, I do believe that leadership is something that comes from inside. I really don't think it's over time. Experience can forge forms of leadership, but I think that leaders are people are the well-rounded, understand morale, team goal, how it works with the employees underneath them, how to groom and understand their employees, be able to push them, when not to push them, when to just let them go, and that right there is something that's got to be done over time, where they can understand and know their employees, and actually, and then eventually, when a leader, I think, is fully successful, is when he has formed his replacement, forged his replacement, and actually steps away from the business, retires, whatever it may be, that he's comfortable, she's comfortable whenever they walk away from the job. I think that leadership is complete. Once again, I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to put in this assignment through video. I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope everybody a wonderful conclusion of this course. I hope everybody has a good evening. Good night.